The Constitution of India came into force on the 26th of January, 1950. At the time of its adoption, the Constitution contained 395 articles and 8 schedules and was about 145,000 words long, making it the longest national constitution to ever be adopted. Every article in the Constitution was debated by the members of the Constituent Assembly, who sat for 11 sessions and 166 days to frame the Constitution, over a period of 2 years and 11 months. This section contains every article in the amended Constitution of India, as of 2020, with its corresponding article in the draft Constitution of India, 1948. Each article also contains a summary of the debates on that article in the Constituent Assembly. The articles are grouped into 22 different parts, which reflects how they are organized in the text of the Constitution of India, 1950. The schedules to the Constitution, which are now 12 in number, elaborate on government policy or rules in relation to specific articles of the Constitution. Each schedule in this section is tagged with the corresponding article, S, for ease of understanding. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist secular democratic republic and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic and political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith and worship, equality of status and of opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly this 26th day of November, 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution. The Constituent Assembly debated the preamble on the 17th of October 1949. The debates around the preamble revolved around the name of India and inclusion of God and Gandhi. One member urged the Assembly to rename India as the Union of Indian Socialistic Republics, similar to the USSR. Members were not convinced with this suggestion as they felt that it would go against the already adopted constitutional scheme. Another member sought to include in the name of God. Many were opposed to this suggestion. It was noted that it was unfortunate to put God on vote. One member believed that inclusion of God would amount to compulsion of faith and violate the fundamental right to freedom of faith. Another proposal was made to include Gandhi's name in the preamble. A member was discontent with the already adopted draft articles as he felt that the Indian Constitution was based on the American Supreme Court cases and Government of India Act. He opposed any association of Gandhi with the rotten constitution. The amendments moved by the members were negatived. However, this was one of the rare instances of the Assembly proceedings wherein the members voted on the proposal to include God by a show of hands. The Assembly was divided with 41 voting in favor and 68 voting against it. The Assembly adopted the preamble as presented by the drafting committee. India shall be a union of states. The states shall mean the states for the time being specified in Parts I, II and III of the first schedule. The territory of India shall comprise a. The territories of the states, b. the territories for the time being specified in Part 4 of the first schedule, and c. such other territories as may be acquired. Draft Article 1. Article 1 was debated on 15th and 17th November 1948 and 17th and the 18th of September 1949. It defines the name and territory of India. A member of the drafting committee clarified the object of using the term Union of States. It was to make it explicit that India was a federation of states. The federation was an indestructible unit and not a result of an agreement between states. Some members suggested alternative names to India. One wanted Bharat or Hind to gain more prominence and to be placed before India. Another suggested Union of Indian Socialistic Republics UISR, on the lines of the USSR. Another member proposed to add secular, federal, socialist Union of States. He argued that, as the preamble of the Constitution was not yet adopted, Draft Article 1 should embody aspirations that the Constitution seeks to achieve. The chairman of the drafting committee opposed this amendment. He noted that the social and economic policy decisions were to be taken by elected parliamentarians. To encode the form of society would destroy democracy altogether. He further pointed out several directive principles of the state policy, including the right to livelihood, redistribution of material resources and equal pay for equal work were socialistic. There was no need to include socialist in Draft Article 1. When all the proposals were put to vote, they were negatived. The Assembly adopted Draft Article 1 on the 18th of September 1949. Parliament may, from time to time, by law admit into the Union, or establish, new states on such terms and conditions as it thinks fit. Draft Article 2. Article 1 was debated on 5th November 1948 and 17th November 1948. It empowered the Parliament to make laws to admit or establish states to the Union. One member believed that states should be clearly defined in order to ensure uniform interpretation in the Constitution. He argued that the draft constitution in its current form uses state indiscriminately in myriad forms. However, state must be defined to always connote a kind of sovereignty. He proposed to retain old expressions such as provinces, Indian states and chief commissioners' provinces. A member argued that draft Articles 2 and 3 overlap and moved a proposal to substitute them with a single article. He opined that the purpose of draft Article 2 is achieved in draft Article 3, and having two separate articles was redundant. However, his amendment was not accepted. Parliament may by law form a new state by separation of territory from any state or by uniting two or more states or parts of states or by uniting any territory to a part of any state, diminish the area of any state, alter the boundaries of any state, alter the name of any state. A representation in that behalf has been made to the President by a majority of the representatives of the territory in the legislature of the state from which the territory is to be separated or excluded. A resolution in that behalf has been passed by the legislature of any state whose boundaries or name will be affected by the proposal to be contained in the bill. Where the proposal contained in the bill affects the boundaries or name of any state, other than a state for the time being specified in Part 3 of the first schedule, the views of the legislature of the state both with respect to the proposal to introduce the bill and with respect to the provisions thereof have been ascertained by the President, and where such proposal affects the boundaries or name of any state for the time being specified in Part 3 of the first schedule, the previous consent of the state to the proposal has been obtained. Article 3, Draft Article 3, was debated on 17th November 1948, 18th November 1948 and the 13th of October 1949. It empowered the Parliament to make law relating to the formation of new states and alteration of existing states. One member strongly believed that the proposal to alter an existing state must originate from the concerned state legislature and not the Parliament. The state legislature and the people residing in a state must be consulted and involved in this decision. He further argued that a democratic regime must consult stakeholders of a decision and not merely impose top-down orders. The draft article in its current form compromised federalism and placed unnecessary and excessive power at the center. Not all were convinced by this proposal. Another member noted that this proposal would stifle minority demands for separate states as it would be impossible to get a state to support its own separation. The chairman of the drafting committee found this proposal unnecessary in light of an amendment moved by him. Through the amendment, he sought to include a clause requiring the president to consult with the concerned states prior to passing any law under this article. Any law referred to in Article 2 or Article 3 of this Constitution shall contain such provisions for the amendment of the first schedule as may be necessary to give effect to the provisions of the law and may also contain such incidental and consequential provisions as Parliament may deem necessary. No such law as aforesaid shall be deemed to be an amendment of this Constitution for the purposes of Article 304. Article 4, Draft Article 4, was discussed on 18 November 1948. It regulated laws made under Articles 2 and 3. It stated that these laws must provide for the amendment of First Schedule List of States and Union Territories, and Fourth Schedule Rajya Sabha seat allocation. There was no substantive debate on this draft article. One member, in the interest of brevity, sought to substitute Article 2 and Article 3 with Article 2 and 3. The chairman of the drafting committee opposed this. He noted that the drafting committee followed a common foreign precedent. Further, even the Government of India Act, 1935 used this format.